you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast, the hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, this is Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. Ladies and gentlemen, the Iron League season that makes official. Welcome to 16 years and 2,500 episodes of the Chris Voss Show, when the oldest podcast left around. And I'm only 20, so I don't understand how we did this for 16 years. Anyway, guys, go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1 on the TikTok, and all those crazy places on the interwebs. Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind. In the sky. Today we have an amazing young man joining us, and we're going to get into it with him, find out more about him, who he is, what he does, and how he does it. Henry Yoshida is the co-founder and CEO of Rocket Dollar, a FinTech company transforming how individuals invest their retirement savings. Retirement? What? You're supposed to save for that? I'm not a millennial. Anyway, with Rocket Dollar, savers can diversify beyond Wall Street into alternative assets such as real estate, startups, private equity, and cryptocurrency, all within tax-advantaged retirement accounts. Welcome to the show, Henry. How are you?
Thank you very much, Chris. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
I'm going to do my impression, Gen Z. What's retirement? No, I'm just kidding. So, Henry, give us your .coms. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
Sir, we are at rocketdollar.com, or you can find more information. Our parent company, it's pretty apropos. Our parent company is retired.com, but to find us directly, we're at rocketdollar.com. So ROCKET dollar, DOLLAR.com. And then I'm pretty active on LinkedIn as well. So a lot of people message me there too.
I have Rocket Dollar anytime I meet a new gal and start taking her out. The dollars just rocket out of my pocket. So I don't know what that is. So it's expensive to date these days, folks. Anyway, give us a 30,000 overview. What you guys do there at Rocket Dollar?
You know, you describe Rocket Dollars as one way. When we started the company, it was actually a name that my daughter had created. So at the time, she was 7 years old, just turned 15. So as of today, if you live in the Central Texas area, I just slapped one of those student driver stickers on the car. So just fair warning, new driver out on the road. So be forewarned if you're in Central Texas. But at a high level, Rocket Dollar is a company. So as you mentioned, we're a FinTech platform. Specifically, we're an IRA platform. So people can go online, they can open an IRA on our website at rocketdollar.com in 7 steps. It takes about 2 minutes. So no different than opening any type of IRA account at another provider. But once you have the account open, people can actually invest in stocks, bonds, in mutual funds. They can go beyond that. So that's the name Rocket. So the idea with a rocket is you can go somewhere that you can't go with a car or an airplane or just by walking somewhere. So our accounts go beyond stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and allow our customers to use IRA accounts to purchase things like real estate, cryptocurrency, private equity. They can invest in a startup technology company directly using their IRA and 401k dollars. That's what we do.
So I know that there's a lot. I was joking about the millennials and the Gen Zers earlier, but and I think Gen Xers kind of have a similar problem of not probably having enough retirement planning and savings saved up. How much do you need to save for retirement if you're in one of those 3 groups of age groups?
Well, you know, this is going to probably be surprising depending on the age group of your audience, but they don't get enough credit. And first of all, millennials now, the oldest ones are 44 years old, so they're not exactly young pups either. Yeah, I appreciate you starting the show by saying I'm a young man, but I'm actually on the first half of Gen Xer myself, so late 40s. I'm getting close to 50 years old myself. But studies have actually shown that Gen Z and the younger half of millennials, so I divide generations in half, are actually on a better track than we might be as Gen Xers.
Wow.
and older. So people don't know that, but they're just more aware. I think there's more information. But to answer your question specifically, There was a recent study, and it was done by the large insurance company based in Columbus, Ohio, Nationwide. And this is really important because they did the study in 2015 to 2017 first. And they asked people, they did a survey, US survey, just kind of broad-based, all age groups, all income levels, of what amount they just think they might need overall in a retirement account to be comfortable. And that number at the time was well under $1 million. So it was in like sort of the high $700,000-$800,000 range. They thought if they had that amount saved up in a nest egg, then they'd be able to sustain themselves. Now you flash forward, and we know that inflation's probably, say it's run rampant recently is an understatement. But they redid the study in the last year, and that number now for people to feel quote unquote comfortable has gotten close to $2 million, which, as you can imagine, is a number that the vast majority of Americans fall well short of. It doesn't mean you give up. It just means that that's the number that people think they need to be comfortable. To be fair, depending on how you live your life, you could live on more, you could live on much less.
Oh, really?
And yeah.
Yeah. I know that Congress. So is there an acceptable, agreed upon, average figure that people should have? Like, especially after these tariffs, we're paying, sometimes 20 or 30% more. I'm going to need coffee in retirement, and the coffee's getting out of control. It seems like you're going to need more for retirement, and then healthcare, I guess, is going to go through the roof, especially if you're on the exchange. If you're an entrepreneur like me, you're on the exchange of Obamacare, and you don't save much if you make so much money, but you still anytime I try and go get private insurance, they're like, well, we want a physical, and you can't have prior conditions, and I'm like, I've got brain bleed from the show, and they don't accept that. But is there a figure that people have accepted that is a good, I don't know, healthy average?
I think that rather than trying to focus on a figure, because again, that's very, very personal to individuals and how they live their life. I mean, I know broke doctors and lawyers, right? But I know millionaire teachers and janitors as well. So it just depends. They just choose to live their life differently. So I think I'd answer your question by saying that I wouldn't say it's an absolute number, but it's just maybe a decision to be consistent in terms of savings. So I think people in your audience might know that I might sort of give the advice of saying that, look, to get to where you want to be in retirement, it's a journey, and it's not just this one specific destination. It's not a specific dollar amount, because it's very personal to you and how you choose to live your life and how much you need to spend, and maybe some circumstances that are somewhat out of your control. But what you can control is your behavior. So I think a rule of thumb might be to get in the habit of putting away some portion of every dollar that you earn, whether you earn $50,000 a year or $500,000 a year, you put away some portion of it. And then over time that accumulates if you put it into investment accounts or tax advantaged accounts like we offer at Rocket Dollar in the form of IRAs, and you'll be somewhere in a position to have a nest egg. Now, that number on the survey of 2 million, that was just to be comfortable. That doesn't necessarily mean that people need that number. They may be just fine with drawing an income stream off of half of that or even less than that. Or depending on someone who's got a very high cost lifestyle, they might need much, much more than that. I mean, I just read that there was a former NFL football player who just declared bankruptcy, and he'd made over $100 million. So it seems like every few years you see that, but Antonio Brown just declared bankruptcy. And
oh, really? He did? After his career? Wow. Well, some of the problems they have with there in the NFL is they have a lot of kids they got to take care of. I remember there was one NFL guy, I remember he had like 10 kids. Lots of child support, and my baby mamas, and that's quite the thing to have after you've gotten out of the NFL.
Exactly, right.
During that time, it's kind of good, maybe.
Well, and that's also a career where you have to retire notoriously early. Right?
Oh yeah,
you don't play football into your 50s unless you're Tom Brady.
Unless you're Tom Brady. Yeah. And so what are some top features or retirement programs, the IRAs or 401ks? I know there's been some adjustment recently with the Trump administration, the big beautiful bill, and and some of the things I think you mentioned pre-show in August, some changes. I don't know. Is it true that you can now invest your retirement savings in a meme coin?
You can if you choose to. Now, at the end of the day, you're kind of allowed to invest in really anything that's a bona fide investment using your retirement dollars. I think the limitation comes on finding a platform that would actually allow you to use that account type. So the account type is the IRA. So it's not that Army in Ireland. The IRA in the United States stands for individual retirement account. So it's tied to an individual. Everyone in America is eligible to open one and fund it. And when you put money inside of these accounts, the money that you put in is able to grow without you owing taxes until you're in retirement age. So in America, they define that as 59 and a half or older. So this is a big difference. So let me kind of just explain with an example. Let's just say that you start not necessarily early, and this is a credit. So I mentioned this earlier, but the Gen Zs, they actually start opening these types of accounts in their 20s. And someone like my daughter just turned 15. She has a Roth IRA, and she's 15. And I was just thinking
about more retirement
15,
than I do.
I don't even know what I was thinking about at 15, but it wasn't anything definitely that complex. But let's just use an example of someone who starts at 30 and they decide to just put money into an investment account, regular taxable account. And then you got another person who does the same thing, same amount of money starting at the same age at 30, but they put it into an IRA. The difference, the person who puts it in the taxable account actually has to pay taxes on that account on a yearly basis. So depending on what they do, what happens in that account, if it's a mutual fund kicking off dividends, they have to add that to their income. So dollar for dollar, the money you put in, depending on your tax rate, you'd have 30% more per year or 20% more, depending on, how much you actually owe in absolute terms. And as you can imagine, over the course of the age of 30 to 60, that makes a huge difference, right? The person who didn't have to pay taxes for 30 years is going to keep it all reinvesting in the account. I mean, we're talking like a 30% difference in terms of size, maybe 50% difference in the overall account size.
Yeah, that's got to be, and then, the other thing you got to factor is health insurance costs. Like health insurance out of control. And I suppose if you, I've been lucky so far, knock on wood, but, they can probably, unanticipated heart or issues or health issues can eat away at your retirement savings, right?
Well, it could just eat away at your assets in general, right? I mean,
that's true.
I mean, it eats at you in two ways. So health problems eat at you in two ways. One, and you're right, I'll first start by saying that the costs and the rate of increase in healthcare costs has gone up faster than the rate of inflation. Another thing that's gone up faster than the rate of average inflation is educational costs. So if you are someone with kids and they end up needing money for their education, the cost of that and healthcare has gone up at a rate that's almost double the rate of average inflation for the last 25 years in the United States. But the other problem with healthcare, though, is that healthcare, depending on what the problem is, limits your ability to earn income. So you're hurt in two ways, right? And you have to spend a lot of money to get yourself right. And you may be limited in your ability to actually earn money if you're hurt, sick, or incapacitated in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. So people need to prepare for this. They need to, I think that's amazing. Your daughter is 15 and she's already got a retirement account. Like, I feel like an idiot at this point. Like, what have I been doing all my life? But I know there's one of the other things. Do they still have the limits? It used to be that once you turned 65, they started making it to, like, if you didn't retire, they made it really taxable, painful taxability wise. And then I think it's 70 again, where a lot of your income starts getting taken, I think, by taxes. If you're like, I'm one of those people that's never going to retire. Well, like Warren Buffett, I don't plan on retiring until 7 years after I die. Sure. So I've been an entrepreneur all my life. I intend to be an entrepreneur until I'm rambling on this mic, and I've already been doing that for 16 years, so they haven't put me away yet. But
right. But you're only 20, so
that's true. I am only 20. Good point, Doc. So how easy is it to set up an account and work with you guys? Who are the people that you see usually come to you guys and utilize your guys' service?
Yeah, well, maybe first I'll answer your question about what happens with the taxability. So here's the thing. The thing about retirement accounts, and they are a massive amount of money here in the U.S. So when I tell people the numbers, I'm not even sure people can sort of fathom it. But the current amount of monies that sit just in IRA accounts in the United States is between $17 to $19 trillion. And in 401ks, we're in the range of 7 to 9 trillion. So add those two together, we're starting to push close to the high 20s, low 30s, and with a T, with trillions, right? So I don't know how often that number is mentioned on the show, but that's the magnitude that we're dealing with. So the caveat is that money is in these accounts and actually hasn't been taxed yet. So the government hasn't been able to get their taxes due on these accounts. So as people get to a certain age, and the age luckily is a little bit later, but they pushed it back to the age of 72. So once you start turning 72, then if you have not taken money out of your retirement accounts, the government starts to require you to take money out of the account. So when you do take money out, that's when you pay taxes on the amount that you take out. So let's say you take out $100,000 when you're 72. That's as if you made that money and earned income of $100,000, at which point the government will get whatever the taxes due. So depending on what state you live in and what tax bracket you're in, you may end up sending $23,000 or $20,000 or $26,000 of that 100. So you net 74 to yourself at 26,000 in income. You'll the rest of the government, and they'll make you do that. And it's based on a formula of how long they think you're going to live. So Warren Buffett's outlived the expectancy of what an average American male should. He's in his early 90s now. His business partner died right at 99, right before his 100th birthday. But I guess we all don't, live like Charlie Munger and Betty White, right? In America, close to 100 years old. But what they start doing is they make you every year take a certain amount out, and that amount gets higher and higher as you get closer to the average life expectancy in the US in the low 80s, in the high 70s. So that's the rule that you were talking about, where they are starting to make you take money out. That's a change. The other one, and this relates to Rocket Dollar, is that in early August, there was an executive order passed to allow Americans to expand beyond just stocks and bonds and retirement accounts and invest in private and alternative assets, an area we specialize in. So that could be real estate, cryptocurrency, private companies, private credit, private equity, venture capital, and so forth. If you know how to access those vehicles, you can do it with your IRA account. And at a platform like ours, people just go to the rocketdollar.com website. If they know a private deal that they want to invest in, they can open an IRA with us. They can move money in from any existing IRA or an old company 401k into that new account with us. And then they can deploy those funds and go into a real estate investment property, for example, as a way to diversify away from the stock market, of which I have a lot of opinions on sort of how that's developed over the 25 years I've been in financial services.
Mm-hmm. Have there any major changes that people need to be aware of off of the, the recent Trump administration 2025's adjustments, the big beautiful bill, and I think you mentioned something in August. Is there any major changes people should be looking for new opportunities in their accounts for?
I think that if nothing else, I would say that the changes that have happened under the Trump administration have actually allowed more flexibility with what people can invest in using retirement dollars. So I think that's the general theme. So that it was an executive order. An executive order isn't actually a codified law. It needs to get passed. Companies need to figure out how to implement this. So service providers like a Rocket Dollar, like a Fidelity, or an investment manager like BlackRock and so forth, or T. Rowe Price, for example, have to figure out what new products can they create? And then people like myself and Fidelity, we have to decide what changes do we need to make to our platform now that the executive office has sort of codified this in an executive order. Maybe it eventually becomes allowable by law and codified in a rule. So how would we adjust our business models to accommodate this? So I think for the average American person, citizen, and investor, the takeaway is mostly that the Trump administration, the second Trump administration, and even the first one, is just proven to be somewhat more flexible with being okay with you doing more things with your money. Like as in, it's not our thing, it's your thing. It's your retirement. You need to take care of it. It's your money. You can kind of go into the things. That I would say that's just the overarching theme more than anything else, not as opposed to just one specific rule.
Okay. Yeah, I know they were talking about maybe, doing more stuff with, cryptocurrencies and stuff, but it sounds like maybe there's already plenty of stuff where you can look for that and things. So when they hire you, are they hiring you to manage their money? Are there different levels or accounts? I noticed there's the Rocket Dollar IRA, the solo 401k, and alternative investing.
Yeah.
You want to run us through those?
We've chosen to be just the platform. So people open their IRA with us. We've chosen not to be in the investment management business. So we don't have investments that we sell or that we recommend to folks. So what we found is that there's a lot of people in America that kind of have a non-stock market type of deal that they're interested in. The limitation is that the bulk of the monies they have set aside to do any investment deal just happen to sit in these IRAs and 401ks. So we decided it was a better business model for us in 2018 when we started in Austin, Texas, to be just a platform and not to be a recommender. So that way we kind of stay in this zone where we have no incentive. We have no reason. We're not trying to sell you anything. As a matter of fact, you've already found this real estate deal you want to do or this private company you want to invest in. You just need us to help you access the tax advantage dollars that you have in an IRA at a provider like Fidelity, who wants you to only invest or will only allow you to invest in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. Move that money to our account, and then you can deploy it into that private deal that you've already vetted on your own.
Now, if I have a retirement account with someone else and I want to move it to you guys, is that possible? Is that the penalties if I do that? So
no, if it's a like kind account, you can do that. So there's no penalties. The penalty would be if you decide to take it out and go buy a new boat with it, for example. Right?
Or hookers and blow in Vegas,
that could be that too. So, but I like to think
folks in the retirement money.
Maybe cash on hand, less so on a credit card, less paper trail.
I put my retirement in Vegas on black. Spun the roulette wheel. And,
Chris, today though, a lot of people think that with a long run up in the stock market and just a lot of uncertainty on a global macroeconomic level, right, with interest rates, that depending on who you are, you might think that the stock market itself is a risky place to put your money. I mean, at the end of the day, it's probably less tangible than it was like a generation ago, which is less tangible than it was 2 generations ago. And I say that by saying that back in the day, right, owning stock used to be communicated as you're an owner, like you're a part owner in this company. You have a piece of paper that says you own a part of Coca-Cola or a part of Johnson & Johnson. But I think today, just with technology, the speed of being able to trade in and out at a minimum of $1, no one really has any loyalties to any companies, right? I mean, they'll buy and share a share, sell and share a share of Tesla, but they have no loyalty. They just want to see if they can catch like a quick bump in the stock because they can sell it instantly on their mobile phone just as quickly as they bought it nowadays. And
sometimes that can bite you. I've done those day trading things during the .com era. I did a lot of day trading. Yeah. So, you can make 50 grand in like 20 minutes and then you can lose the 50 grand the next day in 10.
Yeah, that's right. And that's why people come to us. So I think in a sense, like Rocket Dollar, depending on what you do, for people that come to us in the largest asset class that people invest in using our accounts. So we have a little over $12 billion of customer money. We have customers in all 50 states, all over the country. The largest asset class by dollar amount and by number of people who do the investment is real estate. And I think the reason why is because real estate is a tangible thing, right? If you buy an investment property on the other side of town from you, you can actually go drive by and see that property. But if you were to buy like a share of stock right now, you don't really participate. You don't just call the CEO and ask how things are going and say, look, you have to tell me what you think and how the business is going because I'm an owner of the company. I'm your boss in a way. I don't think they think that way anymore. It's very, intangible and removed from that connection, unlike real estate, at which point you can see it, touch it, feel it, walk in it, step on it, and so forth. And people like that now with their monies as an investment.
Yeah. Get those investments down and everything else. How much do they need to start when they open an account with you guys?
So the other thing that we did when we started was we didn't have an account minimum, but we do have a fee. So I mentioned a couple minutes ago that we don't actually procure investments. We don't recommend investments and we don't produce, manufacture, market or sell or broker any investments. So because of that, the only fees and the way we make revenue is just by charging a flat fee for opening that account and maintaining its status as an IRA. So rather than having an account minimum, we charge a $300 to $500 or $300 to $600 setup fee to open the account, and then just an ongoing monthly fee to keep it maintained. And we kind of maintain that tax advantage status for you. Regardless of whether you open an account with us for $5,000, probably doesn't make sense if it's $300 to open it. But we have customers that have our average customer has roughly $75,000 to $100,000 in their account with us. But we have customers that go all the way up to the 8-figure amounts in their account.
I'm just shy of that 8 figures account, about 8 figures shy. No, I'm just kidding. Being funny. But no, it's really important for people to, know their taxes, save this money tax free. I mean, if you're someone like me, you pay a lot in taxes. I think I should have my name on some elementary schools, evidently, because I don't have kids, so I don't get any exemptions. I'm like the guy who pays all the taxes and have all my life. I've talked to legislatures about this. I'm like, can we make a per diem that how many kids you have in the system is how much you charge? Because I have 0 kids in the education system. So
right.
Why am I paying for everyone's school?
Well, depending on where you live, though, you do get a break on your property taxes once you turn 65. They assume at that point you are likely not to have kids in school.
I don't know, man. I might be one of those. Might be one of those old Al Pacino, Robert De Niro guys who has kids when they're 80.
Oh, I thought we were going to stick with the football theme and say Bill Belichick. But,
Oh, yeah, I might do the old Bill Belichick. He hasn't had a kid with her yet, but there's still time. It seems like that whole thing's gelling. She's like helping his brand there. What are some other things that we haven't talked about that people need to know about, retirement accounts and planning and getting the best bang for their buck and avoiding taxes with IRAs and stuff?
So I've been in the financial services business for a long, long time. I've given talks about retirement planning and how to save for retirement to over 400,000 people across my career, and the businesses that I've started, sold, and the consulting that I've done at Merrill Lynch, my consulting business, my 2 technology companies. The current one is Rocket Dollar. But if I were to distill this down for just very actionable advice to folks, it's really just to, one, if you haven't started with the retirement savings, to just get one of these accounts open, an IRA, and look more at where you put your money in terms of the type of account, not like what you invest in. So I use the term asset location is actually more important than asset selection. So you deciding between one stock or another stock, or one mutual fund and another mutual fund, is actually not as relevant to you as making the decision of having investment money in a tax advantaged account versus a fully taxable account. Because dollar for dollar, if you make the same investment and you put it into a tax advantaged account, you're going to make an extra 20 to 30% per year because you're not paying current taxes on that money and it's allowed to grow. So that's number one. Number two, if you haven't started, it's just to start with as little as you can and just get a nest egg rolling. That's the main thing. It's like a muscle, right? If you decide that you may be short of this number that makes you feel comfortable, and according to a U.S. survey recently, it's $2 million. That's a large number, right? If you know that, hey, at my age, I'm never going to get to $2 million. The thing is that doesn't mean you just throw up your hands and don't even start the race. Like, it means that you probably get started right now and see how much progression you can make towards the number that makes you comfortable. And the way you get started is just by doing something, anything, right? That's the thing. And once you get going, you'll kind of find that once you see that there's some money's accumulating, you kind of get a little momentum and you get motivated. So I'd probably say it's just like someone who's trying to lose 20 pounds here in the last 90 days of the year before the holidays, and they see their family, right?
Yeah.
Saying you want to lose 20 pounds is difficult. But if you were to just get started, go to the gym a few times, watch what you eat for a couple of weeks, and then you weigh yourself and realize you're down 5, and all of a sudden you're getting a little bit motivated. In other words, like going from losing 5 to 10 is easier than going from losing 0 to 5. And just like, investing, going from 0 to 5,000 is harder than going from 5 to 50,000. Once you get to 50,000, it's easier to get to 100,000 than it was for you to go from 5 to 50 and so forth.
You got to get started somewhere, and you got to get putting away the bucks and all that good stuff. So It says that they can be set up with you guys in about 5 minutes. It looks like it's pretty easy to sign up there.
Yeah, I did do the timing. I always use 2 minutes and 46 seconds, right? I'm the guy that started the company. So I was there, designed a lot of the early stuff. The average is 2 minutes and 46 seconds. And really the information you need is just the stuff you have on hand and that right? Your name, your legal name, your address, your social security number, all the information that you would expect to need to open an investment or bank account in the United States. So if you're on the 5-minute side, it's just because maybe you were a little slow.
No,
that information. And whether
I'm usually slow.
It, so.
I'm like, I have to henpeck the type.
Okay, yeah.
So, and then plus, half the time I have to remember who I am, which personality I'm using, because they have like 10 personalities. They each have their own social security number, I think. I thought you were more referencing that you're one of those, like a Jason Bourne spy novel, and you open up your suitcase with multiple passports. Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, sure, whatever.
Cooler way.
Yeah, I have to go through my passport, my fake, James Bond attaché case of who I am this week. So, but Don't have multiple Social Security accounts, people. By the way, I think that's illegal, isn't it? So people can sign up on your website. They can probably reach out. They're pretty good customer service? I guess if they have questions, they need to figure something out.
So we have so that's one of the things. So we like to say that we're a technology company in the financial services space, but we have a phone number on the upper right hand page of our website. So we answer that during business hours. So on that side, you could speak to one of our specialists who can answer all the questions about just general IRAs or the types of IRAs we offer, which are specific to owning alternative and private investments inside of IRAs. And then once people become a customer, we actually have even a larger group that helps on the customer service side to walk people through if they have problems, questions about the account. But even if they just go to the website, so I'd tell your listeners that your audience that at rocketdollar.com, we have hundreds of articles that talk about these retirement accounts, about alternative investments inside of retirement accounts. So I think maybe our sort of biggest contribution to what I think is this new wave based on the August 8th executive order from Trump allowing private and alternative investments in 401ks is that for 6 years, we have a database of articles, blog posts, information pages that speak to private and alternative investments in retirement accounts. So the government allowed this since August 8th. So we're about day 45 on that. We've been producing content that's just educational. It's there. It's not behind a login wall. Anyone can read it. And we've noticed that a lot of people go there just for information. And if you choose to move forward and open an account to enable your IRA investments to go into alternatives, we'd hope you consider us. But if not, you can find out and try to learn a little bit about the background of it and see if it's right for you just by going to our site and reading.
Well, it's definitely something people need to do. Millennials and Gen Zers, maybe cut out that Starbucks all the time and those DoorDashes, man. I know some of them are spending they do DoorDash 2 to 3 times a day. Wow. And that's expensive.
I've never used DoorDash, so
I've used it very rarely when I'm sick or I just can't get out. But usually I'm a cheap Gen Xer. I'm like, I'll go get my burger. I'll be fine. $10 is still $10 no matter how much you earn. I'll never get out of being poor growing up. Right. So to me, I'm still just nah. I mean, I'll get food delivery every now and then from a delivery service that I don't have to pay the huge fees, but very rarely. I think Jimmy John's.
Well, Warren Buffett's worth over $100 billion and he counts out exact change to go to McDonald's. So.
Yeah. And he drives, an old shit box. I think he upgraded his 1989, whatever he's driving, a Cadillac. I think it was.
He usually drives a newish Cadillac. So
yeah,
I think he's not driving an old one really.
Yeah, his daughter made him buy one from the 90s or something, evidently, or from 2000s or something. He's got a newer one, but yeah, it's older. Right. But yeah, it's funny how I think we've had this discussion on the show before with people that about half of multimillionaires don't drive the latest vehicle.
That's another thing. So I've done a lot of studies and I've read a lot of articles and research about that too. But the list of the top 10 cars that are owned by millionaires, like actual millionaires in the U.S. So I just want you to know, BMW and Mercedes is in the top 10, but they're not in the top 5. By models, it's cars like a Toyota RAV4 and a Honda CR-V.
Well, they like putting the pipes on those Honda CR-V Civics, and you see that's what those.
Well, what those millionaires like is that they like the idea of driving a paid-off Honda CR-V and go into their somewhat modest house by millionaire standards, but they can log into their brokerage and IRA accounts and see that they have $2 million there.
So let's round out the show. Give people a final pitch out. Tell them where they can onboard with you and the .coms, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure. So you can find us at rocketdollar.com. So ROCKET dollar.com. I mentioned earlier that we do have a phone number. So that's 855-ROCKET-D. So that's 855-762-5383. We have people that answer the phone during business hours across all 4 United States time zones. The mountain one doesn't really count. It's like 3.5 time zones in the US, right? That's I'll stand by that just because not everyone participates in that one. But you can find out information, open up an account to do an IRA that will allow you to invest in private and alternative investments. And if you didn't know that concept existed before, it's always been allowed. What's been hard is a digitally enabled provider who makes it easy for you to have an IRA that can do private in alternative investments, and that's what we are at Rocket Dollar.
Well, thank you very much for coming on. It's been very fun and insightful to learn about what we all should be doing to invest in retirement.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Chris.
There you. Thank you, and thanks to us for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1 on the TikTokity, and all those crazy places in it. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time. And that should have us out. Great show, man.